To be honest, dirt track racing with a rear brake, you know, going over 100 mile an hour, just sliding in, I don't think there's anything you really can't love about it.
Flat track, I definitely obviously enjoy going fast and being sideways. That's why I chose the sport and that's why I love it so much.
I think my favorite thing about the Arai helmet is just how good of an overall package it is. Like I said, from just changing the vents to getting different airflows, I think how quiet it is, the shape for crashing, and I mean, everything. I just think it's an overall amazing helmet.
And to have, you know, the best helmet on the market on my head on the racetrack was huge. It just gave me a lot more confidence going to the races, knowing that I had a big company behind me and supporting me, and you know, just made me want to go fast.
It's actually been one of the very first helmets I've ever worn, and for me, it's one of the best in the world. So for me, I knew how important head protection is, and that's why I chose Arai.
I'm Dallas Daniels and I race for Essence and Racing in the American Flattrack series. The new spoiler I think is awesome for sure, because you know, you really only ever saw these in MotoGP, and I mean, it's just cool to have what those guys have, sort of, you know. So, but I noticed it big time when I put it on at the Indy Mile for the speed, when it would actually help keep my head in line, and it wouldn't. I would sometimes get some, not like my head would start moving or bouncing or something, and even in road racing too, because the speeds are pretty high there. But really just helps kind of keep your head in line so you can keep your vision straight and not be moving all over the place. So my favorite feature of the Arai is definitely got to be because it's round for sure. It's definitely very protective that way. Most helmets nowadays, they have points on the ends or on the back for more aerodynamic, but the Arai is a smooth round shell and it makes a more protective helmet. Yeah, so when we're tucked in, obviously it's the helmet stays where it's at, and we can see very well out of the top and the bottom of the shield, because usually when we're racing we're kind of looking up, and with the great vision in the Arai we can see out of the top perfectly, so it's not a problem.
Hi, I'm Shayna Texter of the Red Bull KTM factory team. I chose Arai helmets from a really young age. It's actually been one of the very first helmets I've ever worn, and for me it's one of the best in the world. So for me, I knew how important head protection is, and that's why I chose Arai. Don't typically like talking about crashes, but for me, this helmet, it's made to glide across the racetrack, and all the pieces on the helmet are made to break off. So everything you see sticking up, it's made to break off when we crash and fall down. For me, the flat track community, it's a big family atmosphere. You don't see that in any other forms of motorsports. So for us, when we put the shield down, it's race on, and when the shield comes up, we're a bunch of big old friends and supporters of one another. It was huge. You know, back then there wasn't many amateurs that were supported by Arai. So for me to become a part of the Arai family, it was awesome. It's such a unique brand to be a part of, and it's great how much they support our sport.
My name is James Rispoli. I ride for Latest Motors Racing in the Production Twins class. The feature I enjoy most about the helmet is probably knowing how to use all the vents now. It took me a little bit, but learning about the vents and how the airflow goes through the helmet and how much of a difference it makes was probably the coolest thing that I've learned about the new helmet. I told Wells pretty much that it was like going from an airplane to like sound deadening earphones. I was blown away. When Jeff sent it to me for the first time, I was at a track day in Buttonwillow, the overnighted one, and I put it on, and I was just so used to wearing earplugs all the time, and I couldn't believe when I had my earplugs in and I put the helmet on, it was like too quiet. It was eerie. It was like scary. Like you can only feel the bike, couldn't really hear it. And that was the biggest change. The other thing is it seals really good, so there's not a lot of airflow that comes through, which is a huge thing for us when we're going racing at 100 plus miles an hour. You gotta have good vision, and that's probably the biggest thing. So for me to come back and be my second full year back into the Dirt Track Series and be up for a championship and hopefully clinch it this weekend would be huge. It's something I've wanted to do and what I dreamed to do, and to be honest, to do it on a Harley Davidson is even more huge. The kind of nostalgia of it, the history behind it, would be something great, and it would really kind of take Hogs Bully Nation to a new level.
My name is Brandon Robinson. Ride for the Roof Systems Indian Super Twins team. There's nothing better in the world than getting out there and and riding your motorcycle and just being within inches of your friends and fellow competitors and that adrenaline rush that you get from it, man. You're living, and that's what it's all about, man. That's what life's about. And the big saying is, I think I live more in one main event out on the racetrack than most people live in their entire life. So it's crazy, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And like I said, I've had my handful of crashes over my career, and without that level of technology and that protective style that they make, I wouldn't be here.
I would tell a friend that it's the most quiet helmet ever.
I tell them to go buy it. It's for me, it's simply the best, and I wouldn't think twice about it.
I would tell them if they're looking for a helmet to get it. It's definitely, all helmets are expensive, but you need to spend that money on it to keep your head safe for sure, and I would buy an Arai.